Dogs, which is our theme. I am an animal lover. There has never been a time in my life where I did not have multiple pets. And in preparation for leading table topics, I looked at some facts about dogs. So, dogs, they're companions, they guard property, livestock, they herd, they're used for tracking scent, retrieving game, assistance to people with disabilities. They're used in the military and police for detecting bombs and drugs, and they're also used in fire for search and rescue, for finding people under rubble. And the relationship with dogs goes back for thousands of years. There's archaeological and historical records that show we've always just had a connection with man's best friend. So much so that 70% of people sign their pets' names on greeting cards and holiday cards. And 58% of those people put their pets in their family and holiday portraits. Oftentimes, it's not just a pet, but they become your family member. So, to kick this off, there's a great debate over whether or not you're a dog person or a cat person. Some of you might not know this, but I have 4 cats. Not at my new place, they're at my parents' house. But I have four cats and 1 dog, and I consider myself a cat person. So the question is, are you a dog person or a cat person, and why do cat people get such a hard time? Martin.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. Somehow I knew I was going to get this question. I believe cats get a bad rap, very rightfully, and I think that's because cats are some of the laziest, most selfish animals on the planet. If you think of anything when you think of cats, you should be thinking of Garfield. Be somewhat lovable, but really, if you think about it, hated and despicable pet who drives Odie and his owner up the wall with his, Odie is the dog, up the wall with his shenanigans and antics. And I think that's an actual faithful representation of reality of what most cats are like. When a cat is raised by itself, it tends to just be very slothful and selfish and lie around as much as it can. Maybe that's conserving energy, maybe that's just having a good time and relaxing. But a cat will never sense that you're sad and try to console you. A cat will never sense that maybe you want to play with it and decide, hey, I'll participate. A cat will just do its own thing. Whereas a dog is an animal that's much more in tune and humble to the emotions of their owner. They'll sense that you're sad and come up to you and try to console you. They'll sense that you want to play or that you're angry and run away from you. So there's much more interaction between a dog and a dog owner compared to a cat and a cat owner. And I think that's a very real type of distinction. In those cases that you do have cats that exhibit some of those qualities of dogs, I feel like most of the time those cats were actually raised with dogs, so they assimilated some of those qualities. And I think rightfully so, they should be assimilating more of them. Thank you, Madam Table Topics.
Thank you, Martin. I have to say, there are some cats that kind of alienate themselves, but it's very humbling when you get to raise a cat and they come running to you and can sense when you feel sick or sad. So, there you go. Okay, next question. Nature versus nurture. There are some dog breeds, such as pit bulls, that people just write off. They think, no, it's in their blood, that these are dangerous, they're not safe to be around, you don't want to bring your kids. Or there's people who think it's all how you raise the dog, it's all the owner. So, Attaya, how do you fall in the debate? Do you think that it's the breed, that the way they were bred to be killers and to fight, or do you think it's all the owner and it doesn't matter what breed it is?
Okay, yeah. Good practice.
Thank you, Madam Table
Oh, I'm sorry.
Topics Master. Sorry for what? You're fine.
Okay.
I had a feeling I would get this question too. It's not the first time I've answered this particular question in conversation with people. I don't care for pit bulls. Maybe because all of the pit bulls I run into have been raised a certain way. I have walked my dogs before and been attacked by a pit bull, and sorry, I'm a dog lover, but we kicked the dog because we had no option. They were going to hurt me and my dogs. So my female dog, who is very protective, they began to quarrel and we had no option. But I have had people tell me, oh, it's about how they're raised. My father-in-law has some sort of pit bull mixes, and they're huge. And my children have gotten close to them. But I still always warn him, please do not let my children be near them without you being right there, because if you need to grab that dog, they will easily overpower my children. So I fall somewhere in between, but I would say 90% of my belief is that I don't care for the breed either way. Thank you very much.
I kind of agree with you on that. Pit bulls, I'm just a little bit more cautious around than a golden retriever, but you never know. Okay. So, dogs are viewed as being the single most genetically diverse species on Earth. Man has taken the breeding into his own hands, which has created some genetic disorders amongst breeds. Do you think it's okay to continue modifying breeds for your own desire to just, I want a dog with short legs, the long snout, this kind of fur? Because with the way their DNA is, you can kind of create and build your own dog however you want it. Osher.
That's a great question. I was already forming the answer to it as she was saying it. My answer would be yes, within constraint. As in, people should be allowed to design the dog they want, but not to the point where the dog's health is harmed. And that's actually, we've already reached that point with many dog breeds, because, like I've heard with the Lassie dog, what dog breed is that?
A collie.
Collie. That they had designed them to be their snouts so long that their brains were getting smaller and they're getting kind of dumb. And that with other breeds, I think like with pugs, they have all kinds of back problems. So we're already well on our way to that point, and that if you release these dogs into the wild, they would just die almost immediately because they're so hamstrung by the way they've been bred. So in theory, I would say yes, but if you look at what we've already done, we kind of need to take a step back in the opposite direction. And people need to take into account when they're designing these dogs, the health. And if a dog's aesthetic trumps its own health. And because when they are selecting a dog, they're just looking at a picture of the dog, they're just thinking of it in their head, but they're not considering the realities and also all the veterinary work that they're going to have to pay for and take care of once they get that dog. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm sure many of you have noticed on our walks to specialties, there's that little patch of green grass. And I've seen that it looks like Sanrio's employees can bring their dogs to work, and that's what that area is for. So my question is, do you wish Northrop would let you bring your dog or people's dogs to work? Why or why not? Huh.
Would I want Northrop to allow us or give us a policy to bring our pets to work? I would say yes, why not? I saw Dog 101, Who Watches Dogs 101. I love that show. And they had a segment where a guy was allowed to, or his company allowed them to bring their dogs to work, at least for maybe part of the day or whatnot. And he saw an improvement in his mental capabilities and just general outlook on life and on work, that it improved it, and he became more engaged with his fellow employees. He wasn't just sitting at his computer for 8 hours a day, not taking a break. So when he brought his dog with him, the dog made friends with other dogs, with other employees. The employees would drop by in the morning and say hello to his dog, and in that exchange would say hello to him as well. So they developed more of a relationship with their fellow employees, which helped the employee population become more engaged and thus become more productive. So yes, I would love for Northrop to let me bring my pets to work with me. Thank you.
Handshake. All right. Just a raise of hands. Who's grown up with pets before? Okay, excellent. Where was my question? Okay. Question is, have you ever had a pet growing up? So now I know how I can ask. Describe the impact on your youth. Does having a pet at a young age help develop emotions and empathy? Weston.
Oh, I wanted this one.
Yes, I do believe it's important. Well, not important, but I think growing up with a pet, I do feel helps you to generate a bond with, I guess, a species other than humans. I grew up with dogs throughout my childhood, and then cats from like middle school through high school, and the bonds that I created with them, I don't think is like any other friendship or even like a relationship with another family member. I read a story once where they were saying that pets actually have more of an effect on you when you lose them. Like men will cry more for their pet dog that passed away rather than a family member. And I think that's true because I've lost a dog and I was really emotional for some reason. My grandfather just passed away like a few years before, and I was really sad, and I cried both times, but when my dog passed away, I was beyond consolable. So I do feel that it is important to establish that bond by having a pet, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you. All right, that kind of leads into another question. I read that an estimated 1 million dogs in the United States have been named as the primary beneficiaries in their owner's will. And on average, a dog lives about 15 years. And my question is, how far would you be willing to go to help out your furry companion? I think now there's some cloning of like sheep, so maybe in the future you could like clone your pet, or medical bills or vet bills are so expensive, but I know some people who would just spend thousands and thousands of dollars to just keep their dog living a few years more. So kind of just like, how do you stand on that, Doug?
A very humbling question, and one that hits very near to home. I had it was a manufactured dog. It was a long-haired dachshund with tricolor, right? A completely made species. It was defective. I inherited him when he was 4. Everything was cool. The previous owner didn't tell me, oh, by the way, he just almost died on me because he's defective. But that wasn't part of the arrangement. I just got the dog. Fell in love with it, very, very deep bonding. He was a pain in the you-know-what. And he was not humble. Didn't have a humble bone in his body. He knew exactly what he wanted, when he wanted it, and where he wanted it. Very alpha. I love this dog. Anyway, he came down with an autoimmune disease. I took him to the vet. Said, hey, what's wrong with him? His heart's not beating properly. They said, oh, he's defective. What we can do is we can drop $4,000 in this right now and put a pacemaker in him and bring him back. But he'll probably reject it. So it'll be, then we'll have to go on anti-rejection. Blah, 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 blah. Luckily, the vet said, Mr. Field, you got to let this one go because you have a defective dog. So we let him die. And I was heartbroken because I would have spent anything for another day. But was that fair to him? I thought not.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I actually had, when I was a kid, a German Shepherd, purebred, and when she turned 2, it turned out she was epileptic, and it was kind of like a quality of life type of thing. We have one more question. And, okay, I'm just going to combine 2. Kind of a silly question. Dogs have a better sense of smell and better, well, no, I'll just say this one. Better sense of smell and better hearing than humans. If you could have one of these senses improved, which one and why? MaryJane.
I'm not going to answer that question. I want every other question before that.
How about, what would you want your dog or cat?
No, it's okay, it's okay. I would want a better sense of, what is it?
Smell or sight or hearing.
I guess, for myself personally, I wear glasses, I wear contacts, they get in the way, I forget to take them out, my eyes dry out, I can't see, I bring one pair of contacts, forget my glasses, it's a big old mess. If I could have better vision, I would take that sense from a dog. But I'm going to circle it back to another question you asked earlier that you gave Weston, and I really wanted, which was the importance of having a dog as a child. And I'm not a dog person. I was the only person in the room that didn't raise their hand because my mother was allergic to dogs. She was allergic to cats. She was allergic to rabbits. She was allergic to fish. She was allergic to every animal on the planet. So we had no pets growing up, and I think that is a big part of who I am today and why I've never owned a dog myself. But I am the best roommate to have if you have a dog, because I will play with them, but if they poop, you pick it up. Because having a dog is such a humbling experience. It truly is. My niece is 7. She's got a dog. She picks up his poo. She walks him. She's so responsible at 7. Versus my nephew, who, spoiled brat, poor kid, video games, everything, by himself in a corner. Ew, your dog pooed, what are you gonna do? She's like, it's no big deal, you just pick it up and put it in a plastic and throw it away. And there was so much maturity in the younger 6-year-old than there was in the older 8-year-old. Therefore, when I have kids, they'll have a dog, they'll take care of it, I will still be petless.
Okay. Thank you all for sharing your